I'm gonna be real with you guys. I'm about 12 hours into Windrose, and I 100% went into this expecting a normal, typical survival game with a pirate skin thrown on top of it. And within 30 minutes, I realized this game is doing a few things that most survival games don't even attempt. But before you guys spend your money, there are a few things you need to know because this is still early access and it is not perfect. So here's everything that matters about Windrose. No fluff, no filler, no BS, just straight what you guys need to know and what you can expect. Alrighty, at its core, Windrose is a survival crafting game, but unlike most other games in this genre, the pirate side of things is not just cosmetic. You're not just gathering resources and building a base and surviving. You're actually building towards becoming a captain. You start off stranded, the typical survival game stuff like gathering resources, but pretty quick the game shifts into something bigger. Rescuing crew members, repairing ships, sailing between islands, fighting other ships, and yeah, even literally boarding them and taking them over. And this blend is honestly what sets Windrose apart from all of the other survival crafting games out there, or even Navy sailing games that we have out there. To simplify the loop for you, because this is what's going to determine if you like it or not. You start by surviving, you're going to be gathering resources and building a base. Then you start unlocking crafting stations, better gear, and better tools. But instead of just staying landlocked like most survival games, you actually move out to the ocean. You start to rescue crew members, you then unlock sailing, you upgrade your ship, and then now your entire progression is tied to exploration and combat at sea. You weaken ships with cannons, you can board them, fight on deck, and everything basically feeds back into making you stronger. And that gameplay loop is really solid, not to mention we have yet to have a full-on pirate survival crafting game, and Windrose is delivering. Now, something that really surprised me was how mandatory the ship side of things was. The ships in Windrose are not optional. It's not just used for traveling from island to island. It's actually a core part of the game. You're going to do everything from rescuing crew members to then managing those crew members. You're going to be upgrading your individual ship, and you're going to be fighting full-on naval battles. And yes, this can all be done as a solo player. It does not require a full-on group to operate and utilize the ship to its full advantage. Additionally, the combat has actual depth. This isn't just spam clicking like most survival games. Windrose actually has stamina management, dodging, blocking, and even different weapon scaling based on stats. It honestly reminds me of a Souls light. Not like, right? It's not an Elden Ring or a Dark Souls comparison when it comes to combat. It's a light version of that. It still 100% caught me off guard when first playing it, and how many times I died to some beach crabs or even the boars early game because I didn't expect it to be like that, and I 100% expected to just hack and slash my way through. The stamina combat management system here for Windrose is beautifully brutal, and what I mean by that is I absolutely love it. It makes it a little bit more of a challenge. However, if you're not paying attention, it could easily destroy you. Now, let's talk about NPCs. As you rescue people, they don't just exist. They actually go back to your base, they continue to work, and they do become part of your ship. You can further assign individuals to your crafting benches to produce some sort of outcome or to speed up its productions or even to unlock specific things. The game does a really good job of making it feel more alive the more people that you recruit and the farther you progress throughout the game. Additional things worth mentioning that I absolutely love about Windrose are crafting from nearby storage. This is a quality of life feature that I feel like every survival crafting game coming out in 2026 and beyond should have, and it is featured here for Windrose. The food that you make and cook inside of the game are actually giving you quality and really good buffs versus just making you eat or drink to stay alive. And Windrose also features the base comfort system that we are used to from games like Valheim or Enshrouded that also give you additional bonuses and benefits and make it worthwhile to actually design and make your custom base. These things might seem small, but they are definitely something players don't think about until you actually dive in to play the game to find out that they are not there or they are promised at a later date. Windrose features all of these on day one of early access. Alrighty, now let's talk about the things that people don't normally tell you. First up, early access, meaning it is true early access. You're going to run into bugs, rough edges, and maybe even some jank. This is not a polished game, and it is not a finished game yet. No matter how many hours I sink into this thing or tell you that it's worth, just understand that it is an early access title. Secondly, brings us to performance, okay? By default, playing 1 to 4 players, you should see minimal performance issues. That's basically how the game is actually developed and designed. However, they did expand it from 4 players up to 8 players. But a quick warning here, they have already stated, the developers themselves, running 8 people on your server is going to take a significant server load compared to running 4 players, and that they recommend in the optimal way to play the game is 4 players. Obviously, there's a lot of other nuanced stuff that goes into that, as in individuals' hardware, the server, infrastructure that you're renting from or that you're hosting from your own. I mean, you name it, all of that is going to play a factor, including people's internet and connectivity. Next up, no official mod support for early access. But the developers know about it. They want to add mod support in the future, but at the time of early access release, it is not going to be in the game. Now, I'm not saying that these are deal breakers, but if you do go into Windrose expecting full polish perfection, then you're absolutely going to be disappointed. And with the massive world explored via this huge ocean, that brings us to fast travel. Fast travel is going to be available for Windrose's early access launch, but keep in mind, it's not the typical fast travel that you've seen in other survival crafting games. You can't just teleport anywhere. Instead, you have to craft and utilize these bell systems. They have to be tied to some sort of water, and so that basically means that your base has to be built somewhat in a reasonable location for you to then utilize the fast traveling system to your advantage. Additionally, your death inside of the game does have consequences. The game by default, I'm not sure if you can adjust it in the settings, will drop your loot on death, and you do have to make your way back there to pick up that said loot. And the enemies themselves do not wander off, so just keep that in mind. But one thing that I love, and that is you do get to keep your key items. So it's not a complete punishing system. You do not lose any of your RPG progress or stat progression like we've seen in other games. And speaking on inventory and loot, that brings us to exploration that matters here in Windrose. Windrose does a very good job of rewarding you for you exploring and adventuring. It features several handcrafted dungeons, tons of points of interest on each individual island, an insane amount of hidden loot, and even tons of hidden hints to secret loot through the random lore books that you will uncover as you adventure. Picking up something and thinking, I'll read this later, might actually leave loot on the table, because there is a lot of hidden messages and notes to where you can find buried treasure within that location. This is not one of those linear games where exploration feels kind of dead in, or you're wasting a lot of time trying to uncover all of the map. Instead, Windrose does a very good job of rewarding you for that exploration, as there's always something to uncover on the other side. So here's my honest take. When it comes to Windrose, 2 things. 1, it is a very unique survival crafting experience, and honestly, one of the very first survival crafting true pirate games that we have ever had. So I think those 2 things alone make the game 100% worth it. However, just know the game is still technically in early access. It's not a 100% polished version of the game, and the developers still have a long road ahead to make it what they have promised players it will be in the future. If you guys like new survival crafting games, and one that I personally think have a huge, audience for, I definitely think that you should pick up and check out Windrose. If you're the type that hates bugs, rough edges, or, unfinished systems, well then maybe give the game some time. But if the developers can actually deliver on what's currently in the game here at early access launch and all the way through 2026, I have no doubt that this will be the biggest survival crafting game this year.